Hello, I'm the Real Creator, and welcome back to another video. I actually have a background behind me this time. It was just like a random stock image I found online, so like maybe in the future I'll draw up my own sort of background, but at least I'm not floating in a black void anymore. But anyways, lately I've been making some new OCs for a story that I'm working on with a friend, so I figured today I'd go over how to create, or at least how I create, strong OCs. I'm going to be explaining how to create the character itself if you're going to be writing any sort of story with them, as well as how you can craft a design to reflect their personality. So without further ado, let's get started. So first things first, how does one come up with an OC? Well, I suppose a character can come from a variety of places. Perhaps you might have a concept for what their personality might be like, or you have an idea for some kind of design, or maybe you're just basing them off of a role that they need to play in a story. Either way, I suppose it doesn't really matter because you can start from anywhere when building a character. But no matter where you are, the first building block you will undoubtedly need when making a character is a personality. When it comes to creating a personality, you could look into different personality types and the behaviors attached to them, but I personally don't really do that. I feel like a character is defined by the way they interact with other characters. How do they talk and act, and what's their overall demeanor? And better yet, what do they choose not to show to other people? What secrets or parts of themselves are they keeping hidden from the rest of the world? These are some decent questions that you can ask yourself in order to build out your character's personality. And remember, a character's identity and actions are influenced by the experiences they've gone through in the past, so making a personality goes hand in hand with crafting a backstory. If you have a backstory in mind, you can figure out what a character might be like based on those events, or if you have the personality traits, then you can think about what sort of things made them to be that way. And I think one of the most fun parts of storytelling is to see the ways that different characters and their respective personalities interact, and see all the ways that they complement and contrast each other. Now, when it comes to the designing part of this, a good way to reflect the character's personality in their design is to create a strong silhouette. A good character is always recognizable by their silhouette, so it's good to try and make one that is memorable. You can do this through giving your character certain hairstyles, outfits, body types, and other traits that reflect them as a person. One useful tool for this is shape language. Having round shapes in a character design makes them appear more soft, approachable, and cute, while having sharp shapes makes them seem more aggressive and threatening. You can add the perfect balance of different shapes into your characters to convey exactly what you want your audience to feel when they see them. There's so many different things that you can tell to an audience just through the way that a character looks. A character's identity is displayed through the way that they dress and style their hair, so it's important to think about how those elements reflect your character as a person. I think it is good and fun to just design whatever outfits and hairstyles look cool to you, but as your character design starts to find its footing, make sure that all those elements and details make sense for the character and are important to them. A lot of people think that simplicity is bad and a lot of detail is good, which isn't entirely true. Many different traits can be expressed even through simplistic designs, and too much detail might be confusing. But again, the detail that you add to your character depends on who they are as a person and what appearance fits them best. I think that one of the best ways to refine a character design is actually just drawing them over and over again. What I've personally found is that as I draw a character repeatedly, certain details just fade away, either because I was too lazy to draw them or I simply forgot that they were there. And that's a good way to shed unnecessary details because then you're only left with the most memorable parts of them. And if you're going to be using a character for something like a comic or an animation, you're going to have to draw them so many times. So it's good to drop the details that you don't want if they're not necessary. Okay, now back to writing. Let's get into character backstories and how you can get people to care about them. One time, I was telling a friend about all of my OC's lore, and she became super invested in the story and kept getting mad at me for all the bad stuff I was putting the character through. One day I asked her what made her so attached to all these characters, and she said, "It's because you keep traumatizing them." Okay then, but I feel like there's something else. And eventually I realized what it was. See, you can throw all sorts of stuff at your characters, but that's never a guarantee that people are going to care about them. Just because your OC has all sorts of trauma doesn't automatically mean that they're interesting. So, what makes them interesting? I realized that it's not just about traumatizing your OCs, but doing it in a way that's specific to them. I'm going to steal an example from one of my favorite writing YouTubers, Abby Emmons. If you want to learn more about creating compelling characters and stories, go check out her channel. Her videos really help me out. But basically, the way she put it is, let's say a character breaks their leg. We understand that's bad, because that would be bad for anyone. No one wants to break their leg. But now, what if it was an Olympic runner on the way to their big game, and they break their leg? See, now that's a lot worse. You can have bad stuff happen to your characters, and people will realize that it's bad because that would be bad for anyone. But the moment that you make it personal to the character, That's when the audience gets that connection. Because instead of it being like, oh, I understand that's sad for anyone, now they understand that it's sad for that character specifically, and that gets them to sympathize with the character. And by getting them to sympathize with the character, you are getting them to care. Which just makes them more mad when you keep putting your character through more trauma later on. And also, remember what I said earlier about a character's past shaping their current identity. Keep that in mind when you're writing backstory. Don't just put your characters through hell for the sake of putting them through hell. Let it serve a purpose. Okay, on the flip side of things, let's get back to talking about character design and choosing a color scheme for your OC. I really like color theory. I probably could honestly make a whole extra video on color theory if you wanted a deeper dive into different color schemes and all that. But as for the basics, here's a color wheel. Colors on the opposite side of the color wheel are complementary and often pair well together, like red and green. But those are Christmas colors, I hear you say, and to that I respond, Christmas ruined my color theory. Now I can't use red and green in a character design without people associating it with Christmas. But usually I just cheat to get around this by either desaturating the red and making it pink, because pink and green is an underrated color scheme, or shifting the green over into a teal. You also have triadic color schemes, split complementary, analogous, and a whole bunch of other stuff that I probably don't have the time to get into. Another thing that I really like when it comes to character design is color symbolism. This is another element that allows you to employ storytelling within the visuals of your character. You can have certain colors represent different ideologies, personalities, and even character development through how the colors change throughout the story. Certain colors are often associated with certain things, like how blue is gentle, calming, and sometimes sad, while red is more fiery, aggressive, angry. And also, historically, in the comic world, primary colors of red, blue, and yellow are often used for the heroes, while secondary colors of purple, green, and orange are used for the villains. You can use these different associations to your advantage to allow your audience to gain an impression of your character through their design, or even use colors as subversion to make the audience think that a character is one thing when they're really another. An example of color symbolism that I've used is my OC Din, or Herodon. He has two names, it's confusing. I'm just gonna call him Din. At the start of his backstory, he dresses in blue because that's what his father used to wear and he wants to be like him. But then, when the new guy shows up to shake up the plot, Din's outfit switches to red to sort of reflect this new character's influence. However, when everything goes wrong and suddenly Din is homeless and also a wanted criminal, his outfit is now black. Not only because he's a rogue now, but also to sort of represent that he's lost the life that he once had. But then he meets Lynara, and Lynara is associated with purple, a mix of red and blue, which sort of represents how perhaps Din still has a chance to get some sort of life back, despite everything that's happened. Yes, I'm using this as an excuse to yap about my OC lore, and I tricked you into listening. But color theory is just another tool to use for visual storytelling, and I highly recommend that you use it. When applying color schemes to characters, I always try to let certain colors have an even distribution across the character. Like, if you have red accents up here, you can add another one down here to balance it out. Also, make sure that when different elements of your character are next to each other, the colors have a high enough contrast that it can be read easily. If you have a good variety of colors in one spot, but it still feels like it's hard to distinguish between them, go ahead and look at your drawing in grayscale to see the values. If they're too similar, all the colors will just blend together, even if they're opposites. Just make sure that you have a good balance of light and dark in your design. Now, let's talk about character flaws, both writing-wise and design-wise. It's a common misconception that a likable character is a character with little to no flaws, which is not necessarily true. In fact, it's sort of the opposite. If your character is completely perfect in every way, then they feel flat and static, because it's unrealistic. People are often very flawed, and when your characters have flaws, it allows them to feel real, relatable, and compelling. And when your characters have these faults, then your audience can watch them overcome them over the course of the story, which makes for the most satisfying narratives. Likewise, it's also a good idea to give your characters visual flaws. Pretty much everything that I said with character flaws applies to design as well. If they look perfect in every way, it's boring. Flaws make your character feel real, and certain traits like messy hair can add to a character's silhouette. They create visual interest, convey a story, and just make your character look cooler. Go ahead and give your characters eye bags, messy hair, blemishes, scars. Although many people say scars are considered overused in the OC world, and honestly, just do whatever you want. Don't be afraid of being perceived as cringe. But still, if you want to give your OC scars, it's better if it serves a purpose to their character. Like if they're a warrior who would have gotten many scars in battle, or a variety of other things. Well, honestly, I think that that's all I have to say about creating strong characters. Overall, there are lots of things you can do to make your character interesting, and design can be an effective way of storytelling. How you choose to tell that story is your choice. This is one of my new OCs in the background. Tell me what you think of her. Or, better yet, tell me about your OCs. Drop a comment and yap about them to your heart's content. I want to read all of it. But anyways, that's enough of my yapping. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.